check. Let's check. Great. All right then. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Revolution Tier 3 Season 13. And it's time for round 3 for the Singapore Grand Prix. A very tricky straight circuit. And I do wonder, are we going to see some rain? In the last few rounds, we have seen rain either in the qualifying or in the race. And around a track like this, you normally don't really want any rain. It's already tricky enough in the dry. But it does rain quite often in Tier 3, but it seems to be dry for now, at least in qualifying. Hello Jamie, good to have you as well. You're my hero. But Tier 3, last week we had the Brazilian Grand Prix, where we saw a tight battle towards the end between Dark Assassin and Twoosh Terry. Ferrari driver Dark Assassin coming out on top, taking the win with the fastest lap and thus taking the championship lead as well, but he is not racing tonight, unfortunately. And his closest competitor in the championship is Lennons in P3, who is 12 points behind, so Lennons could make some great inroads tonight and potentially take the championship lead, but there's more drivers out there who can do the same to Terry in P4 after that second place finish. He's on 19 points, half the amount of points of Dark Assassin. And the Alpha Highball in P6 on 16. In the Constructors' Championship, it's Haas on top by 8 points ahead of Ferrari and 9 points ahead of Visha Keshev RB. But we arrive here at this beautiful street circuit, one of my favorites personally. But I know there are some drivers out there who would rather race on another track. But that is totally fine, of course. 19 drivers tonight, and one of them is already going out, a few of them actually. And it's Zyro, a Tier 4 driver. Unfortunately couldn't make the Tier 4 race. So he's racing a Tier 3 tonight, so, well, who knows, good practice for Tier 4, I guess, racing against some more competitive drivers. He's the first one out on track in the Ferrari on the soft. So lap time wise, I'm expecting, well, mid 28s probably should be realistic in tier 1. Not really relevant, of course, but the pole position there was a 27.3. I don't think we're going to see any 27s tonight, and that will be pretty insane if we see a 27 from a tier 3 driver. But a mid 28 should be a good lap time to be at the front. So quite a few drivers out there on track. Alpha High Wall in the Alpine hasn't had the best of luck so far this season. I say this season, it's only been 2 races in, but feels like longer than that. Also, by the way, great to have this man back. Ivy had to miss the first 2 rounds, and unfortunately, but it is very, very good to have him back out on track in the Aston Martin, fighting for some good points again. Aston Martin, who I think they need those points. They're indeed, they're sat 10th in the championship on 4 points, tied with Mercedes. So they could use a good result tonight. But Zyro has started his first flying lap, making his way through the first couple of corners, which can be quite tricky, especially with track limits on the inside and outside. You want to carry as much speed as possible through there. Also keep it in the white lines there on the exit. Nice and careful so far on his banker lap. Tight there to the inside wall. And this marks the end of the first sector, 26.8. Then turn in, slight moment of oversteer there, going into turn 7. And sort of a hairpin / 90 degree corner there to the right. And then to the left as well, but a little bit quicker. And you have to be mindful of that wall on the outside. That sticks out a little bit. And here as well, of course, where George Russell crashed out back in 2023. But now, the most technical part of the lap, the tightest part of the lap. Ooh, and he hits the wall slightly there on the exit of turn 11. Over the bridge we go and down to the braking zone of the hairpin of turn 13. Then to the second DRS straight, up to the braking zone of turn 14. And then the final DRS straight after they changed it back in 2024, I think it was, or 2023. I'm not too sure actually. Might have been 2023 or even before that. Actually, was it 2023? I think it was. Anyway, we're at the end of this lap now. One final corner to go, which can be taken flat out in qualifying with the right setup and right line. And 29.555 is the first lap time on the board. Test Will making his debut tonight, setting a 28.7 banker, so incredible time already. And Ivy posts the second quickest lap time in the 28s as well. Shark cannot quite manage that, but a 29.2 is enough to put him into P3 for now. And Sly DJ was driving last week as well, and so is this week in the Aston Martin this time, with a 29.6 for his first lap. What about Twitch Terry? Only a 29.6 as well, as Alpha High Wall matches the Sauer of Test Will. So we see more drivers out on track. Wardy is one of them, who unfortunately missed last week. Who was one of the contenders at the front end back at Melbourne for round 1. Let's see what he can do this time. A 29.1 will be his first lap. That puts him right behind Lennons, who's also still in the 29. So already 3 drivers in the 28s, but Zelix goes fastest with a 28.6. And that puts half a tenth in between himself and Will. What about the other RB of Kai? Can be incredibly quick as well in qualifying, just like his teammate. And Mahmudev is on the lap as well in the Williams alongside Jesus tonight. Now down into the braking zone off turns 16 and 17. This is a chicane that I find most tricky on this track because the inside curb there on turn 16 is 16 is Mahmudov and it's the apex slightly there. The inside curb there, in my opinion, is really inconsistent. It can really just throw you off, or you can take it perfectly. Mahmudov manages 32.8, so he can go much quicker. But what can Kai do? 29.4. Only P9 for now. And we see Godzilla and Sui both on the lap as well. Armin's gone out in the Sauber. One of the Ferraris is out. Barney has left the session. I'll try to invite him back. Not sure if it's a connection issue. But either way, what it does mean is that he is going to be starting at the back of the grid. Because his 35.8 will be beaten for sure by Jesus, Sui now and Armin later in this session. But so that is some unfortunate luck there for Barney, who was making his debut as well in Tier 3 tonight. Sui then in the Red Bull, his teammate is up in P8 with 29.4. Can he get anywhere close to that? A 30.4, 1 second off. And sat in P14, so Armin then the only remaining driver along with Jesus to set a lap time with just over 10 minutes to go. As the kick Sauber at the end of sector 1, 26.5. Actually quite a decent first sector. And Dondech has joined. So that makes 20. And Dondech, he is the winner of the opening race of the season at Melbourne. So he will be one of the front runners, I reckon, in this race as well. Also set second in the championship behind Dark Assassin, so he could potentially then take the championship lead after this race. And Armin then into this final chicane. Nice and careful. Don't want to take too many risks on your first lap. He crossed the line for a 29.1, which puts him in P7 for now. Look at the gaps, top 14 within 1 second. It's always quite close here in Tier 3. The top 3 under a tenth of a second in between them. Shark has started his second lap. He's currently half a second behind his teammate. Let's see how much closer he can get on his second attempt at the end of sector 1. And he's already up by almost 0.2 of a second. That curve then really inside of turn 7. Really don't want to take that too much. Kind of just drive around it. Otherwise you might get thrown to the outside of the track and off track and potentially invalidate your lap time. You can really cut the inside there of turn 10, that is. You have to be careful here with applying the power, and this wall there on the inside of between turns 12 and 13. If you hit that in the slightest, your front right wheel might just pop off, so have to be careful with that in the race as well, not to get too close to that. But Shark now opens the DRS for one final straight towards this final chicane. And he takes it quite nicely there. So should be a good improvement for the Mercedes driver. Mercedes who need to score some good points as well. But with a lap like that, it certainly helps. P1 and P5 for now. For the German team. Ivy up by 2.5 tenths through the middle sector. And that actually might be a potential fastest lap time if he nails the final sector as well. Seems decent through there. Can he beat that 128.687 that Felix set on his first run? He can't quite manage to do that, as he lost a lot of time in the final sector. And has to settle for P4. And Test will goes quickest, 128.5. A tenth ahead of Felix. And we're already in the 128.5s, like I said at the beginning of the session. with what would be the pole time. Or might even go below that. At this point, with still 7 minutes to go in this session. Lots of drivers out there trying to improve. Wardy down in P7. Let's take a look. Let's ride on board with the RB driver. Needs to find half a second. And he's up by only 0.003 of a second, so that's not quite going to be good enough to get him to the front. But if he gets a good final sector, he might be able to get him into P5 ahead of Shark and Linens. Out of turn 17, and then this final quarter remaining, in fact it's actually 2 corners, but well, you take it as 1. And he does go into B5 eventually with a good final sector. 3.5 tenths behind. And on ball right now. And Zelix has started on a lap as well. He's up by 1/10 of a second through sector 1, but unfortunately validates through the middle part of the lap. So he is not going to improve. And drives straight into the wall. In turn 13. So Dondatch is in the Haas again, just like he was in Melbourne. So that could be some good luck for him. Slide DJ up to P10. Good lap from him, and good for Aston Martin. Now qualifying is not always that important, but around a track like this, it absolutely is. Because overtaking around Singapore is not really that easy. You have 3 DRS zones, but you cannot ever get that close enough, and DRS trains are very common around here as well. You want to get a good qualifying position in order to get a good race position. Almost everyone in pit lane preparing for their final runs, just over 4 minutes to go. But Froby and Zyro, they're out on track. In the McLaren and the Ferrari respectively. Down in P14 and P15, and Zyro of course a tier 4 driver. And not doing a bad job at all so far in this session. Hasn't raced yet in tier 3, and tier 4 I say, but it's actually his first race of the season. Is a tier 3 race. Good evening Blitz, welcome to the stream. Good to see you again. And Ivy is out on track as well. We're going to take a look at what Zyro can do here. If he can get a top 10 qualifying in his first tier 3 race, that would be pretty incredible. Just ahead of him, behind him in this qualifying so far, Froby has started his flying lap. Keep an eye on him as well. Through this first sector at least. Let's throwing the car in to turn 5. Gear is open. Flat out to the right. And a 2.5 tenth improvement through sector 1 already. So that's a good start to his lap. What about Zyro then? Can he do the same? Looks quite tidy through there. And is not improving so far through the first sector, from slightly wide there as well. Which I'm sure has costed him some time to avoid invalidating. So we look at the McLaren of Froby, who's lost some time through the middle sector, but still up by 1.5 tenths. Which could get him up into P11. if he gains a little bit of time in the final sector. Across the line he goes, P13. Good final sector, but not quite able to beat Kai and Ozon. And Zyro is not even improving anymore. What about Ivy and P4? He has invalidated as well. But he has the time to go from the lap. What about Zelix then? As he starts his final fly lap, 1 minute and 30 seconds to go. As he's absolutely throwing his car there into the first few corners. I wonder if he gained any time with that. You want to run as close to the wall there on the exit. Because it does gain you time for some reason in this game. And he's up by 1.5 tenths through the first sector. Great start to his flying lap. But we'll keep an eye out, of course, on Will as well when he starts his flying lap. But he is still on his out lap. So, Zelix has he got a clear track ahead of him. There is some drivers on their out laps, but won't get into his way. It's sliding there through turn 11. Down into the braking zone of turn 13. DRS open. Seems to be a good second sector as well. We'll find out if he's gained any time. He's lost some time, but he's still up by 37 thousandths of a second, which means that he needs to get a good final sector. Otherwise, he will not be able to beat Test Will in the kick sauber. One chicane to go, and then a flat out corner to the left. Can Zelix beat the 128.5? He crossed the line. He can! 128.532. And he's up by 5 hundredths of a second, but Will is going even faster. 2 tenths up through the first sector already. But there's other drivers out there as well on their flying laps. What about Domdetch? His one and only lap in qualifying. Only good enough for P17. He is going to have to come from the back of the grid. Zyro stays P14. Ivy goes up to P3. Misses out by 6 100ths of a second. Shark into P4. Alpha High Wall stays 5th as Twosteri goes up to P8. And Teswa's lost a lot of time in the middle sector. He's lost a lot of time. He's down by 1/10 of a second. And does that mean that Zelix can get his pole position? Wardy has invalidated. He will stay P7. Ozan will stay in 6th place. Lennons has invalidated as well. He's down in P10. And Kai is going quick though through the middle sector. He's up by almost 4/10 of a second. Yeah, Testwheel has finished. He's not going to be able to improve, and he stays in 2nd place. So I think that means that Zelix will get the pole position. Kai improves right behind his teammate. Probably will not improve. And Godzilla into the pit lane, which means that Zelix is on pole position for the first time this season. And he will get to start this race from the front of the field. And look at how close it is. The top 3 separated within 63 thousandths of a second. Shark in P4, Alpha Wall, then Ozone, the 2 RBs of Wardy and Kai in 7 and 8, Arbon down in P9, ahead of Twisteri, Lennons, Sly DJ, Jesus in 13 ahead of Frobby, Zyro, Godzilla, Sui, Dondech, Mahmudev, and Barney, who unfortunately retired after disconnecting. But that is the end then of qualifying. Looks like we're going to have an interesting race ahead of us. And, well, I said it at the beginning of this stream. Is it gonna rain? Well, I can tell you, it is gonna rain. And it's raining at the start of the race. So once again, a rain-affected race. I actually checked this earlier this week. all the races that I've commentated in Tier 3, what the weather was for qualifying and the race. And over the last 4 races, including pre-season, we had wet weather conditions in 3 of them. And the only other race that didn't have wet weather conditions was at Abu Dhabi, and there was fixed weather. So this is basically our 4th consecutive wet weather affected race. 37% of all Tier 3 races that I've commentated on had some rain, either in qualifying or in the race. So yeah, interesting threat. Interesting statistic that. But it looks like we're on full wet conditions. Kai is going for the intermediates just like he did in Melbourne. Didn't pay off too well for him back then. Finished down in P11. I hope he doesn't fall for the same mistake again, or at least hope that the weather is maybe a little bit lighter compared to Melbourne. Arbon is opting for the intermediates as well, so could become a very interesting opening stage of this race. And thank you very much, Wardy, for giving me the weather forecast. So, full wet conditions at the start, but around halfway, the halfway point of this race, it is going to dry up. So we might go full wet to inters and then to the rise. And that explains why some of these drivers are choosing to start on the intermediates. Because they want to skip a pit stop. Go from inters straight to the dries, but it looks like it might actually be a very long rain stint, so I don't think one interset will be able to make it to the dries, but it sure is an interesting call. I think wets will be quicker, a lot quicker, but who knows? Maybe it's a strategic masterclass here for RB. We're both going for the intermediates right now, and along with Mahmoudev down in P19, 3 drivers opting for the intermediates. Everyone else will be starting on the full wets. Here we go then. It's time for the Singapore Grand Prix. Tier 3, round 3 of the season is lights out and away we go. And Zelix leads off pole position, but is Will going to have a look at the inside of the turbine. He's got his nose in, but he's not quite going to go for the move. He's on the intermediate as well. Zelix runs slightly wide there through turn 2. Is going to allow the Sauber to go up the inside through turn 3. All struggling for grip on the exit as well. Sauber cannot quite put the power down, which means that Zelix stays in the lead of this race. Was slightly wide there going into turn 5, and on the exit as well, might lose out to the kick Sauber on the inside, and Will is going to get past and take the lead of this race ahead of Zelix. Then it's Ivy looking to try and get past as well on the full wets, as we almost go wheel to wheel into the braking zone. Mercedes sends up the inside of the Sauber, not quite enough space there to make it work. Shark in P4, then it's Ozan, Wardy, and virtual safety car has been deployed. There's been some incident at the back of the grid. Probably has been a 10-second time penalty for a collision with Arbon, who has lost part of his front wing. And Kai has had some issues as well at the back, spinning around there in turn 7 that was. So virtual safety car has been deployed, and I think Frobby's got front wing damage as well. So chaotic start to this race. Then both Frobby and Arbon then with front wing damage will have to come into the pit lane, yeah. After front wing missing there for the kick Sauber. Not an ideal start to his race. But a few more drives on intermediates than expected. So Wardy, Alpha Hype Wall, Test Will, Lennons, Arbon, Mahmudov and Kai all on intermediates. Look at the positions gained. Toursteri with a good start, 3 positions gained. Jesus 4, Zyro 5, and Dondech as well 5. And Arbon, Frobby and Kai of course losing a lot of positions with that, and that is... I'm not sure what that move was from Kai there, completely running Mahmudov off the road there. But I think we go back to green flag racing at the end of lap 1. And Test Will leads ahead of Zelix, then it's Ivy, Ozone, Shark, Wardy, Toursteri, Alpha Ball, Jesus and Zaro in the top 10. And Jesus is going to get past Alpha Ball on the main straight. He's on the full wets. Seems to be a better tire, but Alpha Ball tries to go around the outside, and he does so. Great counter-attack there by the Alpine. As Zaro tries to find a way around the outside of Jesus, but now is under attack from Lennons in the McLaren. But you really cannot quite go wheel to wheel through here. Bit of contact on the exit as well. Esterval struggling for grip. Jesus now with the better acceleration gets ahead of Alpha Hypewall and is back up into P8. Oh, in the background, someone into the wall. And it was Sly DJ who's got front wing damage. Did he make contact with anyone? Could not really see what happened there due to the spray. But he has the Martin. Well, now with front wing damage as well. As Alpha Hypewall and Lennons are going wheel to wheel on the exit of turn 9. And Lennons now ahead of the Alpine as well. Very close, don't want to go wheel to wheel through here. Oh! Very close between these two. Lennons now runs slightly deep. Is Alpha Hypewall going to send it up the inside into the hairpin? No, he's going to stay behind. He's going to stay behind for now. As Dondech follows in the Haas. Started at the back, up at the P12. Godzilla and Barney in P14. But at the front, Test Will leads by 1 second ahead of Zelix and Ivy. As Shark almost going into the wall there. Through turn 15. It's all about surviving in these few laps when the conditions are the worst. On to lap 3, 29 to go. Test Will leads ahead of Zelix and Ivy Ozone in P4 and Red Bull 1.1 seconds behind. Then Shark going off track through turn 2. And Wardy, the second driver on intermediates. Whoa, big moment on the exit of turn 4. And the two Alpines go wheel to wheel. Godzilla gets past Alpha Hypewall, who seems to be struggling on these intermediates. As started all the positions already, and that was the Ferrari all out of shape. Coming out of turn 5, which allows Suet to get through in the Red Bull. .4 seconds now for Test Will. Seems to be quite comfortable in these conditions. Even on the intermediates. As he keeps extending that lead, almost 2 seconds now. At Zelix forming a bit of a train behind him of Ivy and Ozon. And Ivy seems to be the quicker driver, but unable to get through. In these conditions around a track like this, it's very difficult to overtake. Oh, Wardy and Toursteri lost their contact. Wardy stays ahead on the exit. Toursteri in P7, he's on the full wets. And has Jesus for company as well. And Zyro with a great start, he's in the top 10, P9. As the Haas there runs extremely deep into the chicane of turns 16 and 17. And Ivy having a look up the inside. But unable to make it through. With the nature of that first chicane, it's really tight. And you can't really overtake cleanly without making contact or forcing someone off track. Now maybe with the better exit out of turn 5. Does he have a run on the Mercedes? Seems to be a little bit too far back. It's to go for the lunge. Has to stay behind, as there's a big gap between Wardy and Twisteri now, and Jesus as well. So there's a fight between Lennons and Zyro as we go wheel to wheel through turn 7. Zyro around the outside of the McLaren and stays ahead of Lennons, but Lennons with the switchback, and will have to go along around the outside now, and he's gonna have to back off. Can he go for another switchback maybe? On the run towards turn 10, not quite, as Zyro defends successfully. And it's wanting to get by, but it's just so tight around this part of the track. Oh, and I think Dondech just slammed to the wall there on turn 12. With a snake of cars behind Zyro and P9 all the way towards Barney and P15. It's a Ferrari sandwich. And Testwell's got 4 seconds now towards Zelix as we go on to lap 5. Getting a second a lap. In a league of his own right now. And can Ivory now go for the move? Yes, he can on the inside of Zelix into turn 1. The Aston Martin tries to go for the move. Oh, a bit of contact as Zelix was late from the brakes to go round the outside. And Ivy eventually had to back out, otherwise they would have crashed there. So Zelix stays ahead as they lose another position, another 1 second towards Testwell. As there's a 3-second time penalty for Zelix, running wide on entry of turn 5, which is going to ruin his chances of finishing on the podium. As Ivy still looking to try and find a way past, but unable to find the gap. And Dondech has got ahead of Zyro. Now finds himself inside the top 10. As Arbon sets the fast lap of the race on the full wet. But he's down in P19. A good 30 seconds behind the rest of the field. We'll need to hope for a safety car to get back into this race. Now the two Alpines looking to get past Zara once it runs wide again. Coming out of turn 11. And when will the crossover point be, where the intermediates start to get faster than the full wets? I don't think there's a clear difference between these two tire sets. As Testwell goes faster again, 150.1. 6.5 seconds towards Zelix. Another reserve driver leading this race. Just like 2 weeks ago in Melbourne. As Godzilla into the pit lane on lap 6. Is he going to put on a set of intermediates? Yes, he is. So he thinks that these conditions are good enough for intermediates to be faster than the full wets. .2 seconds. Testwell absolutely dominating this one so far, but we're only on lap 7, lap 6 for some of these drivers. All the drivers, my bad, but 25 to go after this one. Now anything can happen, although Testwell is in a really good position right now. But it's going to get tricky when conditions change. And Lennons and Jesus fighting it out. And Jesus stays ahead for now. Lennons is on the intermediates, wants to get by. And Jesus runs slightly deep. Is that going to open a door for the McLaren driver? Jesus still with a good exit there. But Lennons is right at the back of the Williams. And overtaking into the chicane is quite unusual, and he sticks his nose in now with the switchback presently going into the final corner. That's a great move there by Lennons. He's on the inside, but Jesus with the better exit still managed to hold it around the outside, but runs slightly off track there, and that is going to allow Lennons through up into P8. Great move there by the McLaren to get past the Williams into turn 1 though. Jesus later on the break still going side by side, but now he has to yield, and Lennons is up a position and now can try and chase after Tours Terry in P7. Zyro into the pit lane to go onto the intermediates as well. It seems like the intermediates are the better tire right now, because Wardy has just got past Shark and is already at the back there of Ozon in P4. As Tesla at the front has got a 10-second lead ahead of Zelix. He made the right choice with the tires, and it's paying off right now. As Wardy is at the back of this Red Bull, can he find a way past potentially up the inside of the hairpin? He's going to have to send it. He's going to stay behind for now, maybe with the switchback with a better exit and the run towards turn 14. Can he put his RB on the side? He's going to have to go the long way around the outside. Or will he perform the old switcheroo? Yes, he will. On the exit now, well alongside. And he's going to get that position. Wardy up to P4. As Froby today has gone from bad to worse. 10-second time penalty for crossing the white line on pit exit, which means that he's done it twice now in this race. Because the first time you get a warning as Zelix runs deep on pit entry. But he's back into that pit lane. And he is going to go onto the intermediates. And so is Ozan and Jesus and Dondech. All those drivers are started on the full wets. We'll be swapping over to the intermediates right now. Wardy now in a podium position. 2.5 seconds behind Ivy, who is still out there on the full wets. He's around 15 seconds behind Tess Wells. Tours Terry picks up a 3-second time penalty for track limits, which is going to cost him later on in this race. Still a few drivers out there on the full wets. Shark, Ivy, Tours Terry, Sui, and Barney. And there are on a slight detour both into pit lane to go to the intermediates. But when Test will in a great position to win this race. His closest competitor is Wardy in P3. But he's now 16 seconds behind as Lennons fighting it out with Shark there through a place where you normally don't see an overtake. But they're going wheel to wheel regardless. Shark on the inside, Lennons with the intermediates, has the better traction. And he is going to get that position into the braking zone of turn 15. As Lennons up into P4. Al5 in the background fighting it out with Tours Terry as well. And he gets that position because Tours Terry on those full wets just cannot get power down quickly enough to defend that position. And I'm sure he will put it into the pit lane rather soon to put on a set of intermediates. Ivy into the pit lane. Shark continues on. Tours Terry into the pit lane as well. And Sui staying out as well. So, is Shark going to make the decision to extend this stint all the way towards the rise? To a spare pit stop that way. Could be a strategy, but those full wets will be burning by the time it becomes dry. So he's doing the same thing, and so is Barney. Now under pressure though from Mahmoud, FMP9. With a great comeback so far. Will he send it up the inside? Not quite. Which means he has to stay behind in this section where overtaking is really difficult. So Wardy now in second place, 18.5 seconds off Test Wheel, who's basically got a free pit stop. which is what I thought yesterday as well in Tier 1. When I put the pit lane for slicks, or all the way around for intermediates. But it didn't quite pay off for me, as I lost 20 seconds in pit lane due to my teammate, but that's of course irrelevant for this race. But Deswell ahead of Wardy, ahead of Lennons, ahead of Alpha. Well, that's the top 4 right now. And then we got 2 drivers out there in full wets, Shark and Sui. But I reckon Kai will be getting past quite soon, as Mahmoudev gets past Barney, and Barney is going to pull to the pit lane at the end of lap 10. On to the intermediates he goes. He will lose a lot of positions with that. To staring down in P15. And Barney will come out in P17. Only ahead of Arbon, Slidic and Frobby, who are way behind the rest of the field. Kai has got past Sui. And now he's got 3.5 seconds to catch up towards Shark. And when will the rain stop? Well, the weather forecast is set around the halfway point of the race, so which means we'll need to do another 5-6 laps before it really dries up, as Arbon sets the fast up the race, 1:45.4. And let's see what Tess will put in for lap time. Of course, 7 lap older intermediates. We will not see. 20 seconds is the gap now at the front. Non-legends were staring down the P14 and P15. Not the race Haas would have hoped for so far. Our Constructors' Championship leaders currently outside the points. By the way, good to see that everyone is still driving here after 11 laps in these conditions. All 20 drivers still in competition, despite some massive setbacks for Frobby, for example, even getting a 10-second time penalty, but he hasn't given up yet. And he's still in this race. Though Testwell is getting quite close to lapping the McLaren driver. And Kai has caught up to the Mercedes. Another fastest lap there for Arbon. Kai on the exit of turn 8 is going to put his RB alongside, and he's going to get that position, so good move there. And with the tire advantage, of course, but Kai now up at the P5, so a double top 5 right now for the RB team. We're set third in the Constructors' Championship. Good gains on good points on Haas and Ferrari are both outside the point scoring positions. Tesla keeps extending that lead to over 21 seconds now. Not too sure how long a pit stop is around here, but I think it's around that, 21, 22 seconds, maybe. So I think he's definitely got a free pit stop now towards Wardy. And Shark eventually has to pull into the pit lane from the full wets. Hasn't quite worked out. He will lose a lot of time with that. He's going to go on to the intermediates. Which means that Sui's the only driver out there still on full wets since the start of this race. He's just been overtaken by Zelix in the other Mercedes. And Mahmoudev as well in P6, doing a good job so far. 13 positions gained from 19th on the grid to P6 right now in this race. Great drive so far. of course, made the decision to start on the intermediates. Just like the 5 drivers ahead of him. Just look at these gaps. After just 13 laps of racing. The race leader Tesla is close to lapping. Probably down in P20. And I'm quite confident that Test will probably be promoted after this race if he wins this race like this. So it might be the last time we see him racing in Tier 3. Sui has to pull the pit lane as well at the end of lap 13, which means everyone will be on the intermediates for the remainder of the stint. And then it's the question, when is it going to dry up? How many more laps on these tires? Will the top 6 be able to make it towards the slicks on these intermediates? So he comes out in P17. As Lennons, he is close to gap towards Wardy. So that's the fight there for P2. Alpha High Ball is quite close as well, 1.5 seconds behind. There's a little bit of a bigger gap then towards Kai, 14 seconds towards P5. But Lennons is looking to get past the RB to go up into second place, to potentially go on and take the championship lead if he finishes there. At the moment, Don Ledge will only score 1 point, and Dark Assassin, who's not racing, will not score any points. And Toursteri will not score any points either, down in P13 and 4th in the championship, directly behind Lennons. So it could be a big day then for Lennons. Can he find a way past the RB ahead of him? As Ivy with a 3-second time penalty. Ivy down at P8. Of course, that strategy hasn't quite worked out. Started on the full wedge. He and Zenix down at P7 and P8. But they have caught up to the back of Mahmudev and Kai as well, so Bruni will be up into P5 and P6. As Arbon continues to go quicker and quicker. Just unlucky then with that moment on the opening lap, which saw him falling all the way down the order, and now down in P18. He's got the pace, just hasn't got the luck. Oh, what has happened to Kai? In the braking zone of turn 13. Did he make a mistake? Or did he get tagged into the hairpin? Because he's lost a lot of time and is now down into P8 on his worn out intermediates. Has been overtaken by Mahmudev, Zedix and Ivy. So are we seeing some signs of tire wear for those who started this race on intermediates? Well, Testway can just pull the pit lane at any time. He will still be in the lead, no matter what. He doesn't have to stretch it towards the drive. This Kai is retired in the pit lane to become our first retirement, which is rather unfortunate. He was in a good position in P8, still on for points, but he will not see the end of this race for some reason. So RB's good result is limited down to only one driver now, Wardy in second place. As Arbon continues to put in fastest lap after fastest lap after fastest lap. But now gets beaten by his teammate in this race, both reserve drivers for Sauber. They're full-time drivers, are Conor Beatty and Hari, both unable to attend this race. As Wardy seems to be struggling on these tires, but so is Lennons and Alfa Wall. Look how close the McLaren driver gets to that final corner. But the RB with the better exit is able to maintain a little bit of a gap towards Lennons. Oh. "29 seconds. Insane pace difference between the leading pair. As Ivy goes up the inside of Zelix into turn 1. And the Aston Martin is now up into 6th place. He's got the motive up the road, 1.6 seconds. As this trio still fighting it out for P2 in the race. Don't think any of them will be able to fight for the race win. So we've just ignored Testwell at the front. We have an incredible fight here for the race win. Lennons is going to send it up the inside into the hairpin off turn 13. Can he get it slowed down? He can, but slows down too much there. And Wardy with the outside line is able to maintain that second place for now. As Lennons with a desperate move of the inside, but hasn't quite worked out. He now has got to deal with Alpha Hype Wall in P4. Great attempt there up the inside of the hairpin. That is the tricky part. You can get it slowed down, but the car on the outside will always have the better exit on the run towards turn 14. It's gone to lap 17 of 31, around the halfway point of this race. And it looks like the rain has stopped falling, or maybe a little bit still. And DRS has been enabled. So, will we be back to slicks soon in this race? But the DRS will certainly help Lennons in his fight against Wardy. Although he's not quite close enough to benefit from that. He can close the gap, but cannot quite send up the inside right now. And Ozon, he has gone in immediately for a set of hearts. And so has Donic. I think it's already time for slicks. And I'm not too sure actually if it is. Okay, I thought it was still spitting out there. But we'll look at how the Red Bull will go against these conditions. Coming out of the pit lane. Is the grip going to be there? Of course, cold tires as well. Cold hard tires, I must add. That's literally the worst tire you can be on in these conditions. Of course, taking up the long game, wanting to go to the end. But it actually doesn't seem too bad. So it will actually be time for slicks already. So that is going to be interesting. Everyone out and down there has already gone in for their pit stop. And so is the race leader, Testwell. On lap 18, puts on a set of hards as well. So everyone is going to the hards, except for Dondaj. He is going for the mediums. You can take them to the end, but he will suffer from a big degradation towards the end of the race. Wardy, Lennons, Alpha Ball, Ivy all into the pit lane on this lap. And Harts will go on. But Wardy with a slow stop there. And Lennons has got ahead. For some reason, what happened to Wardy? Did he miss the turning point? Because Lennons has jumped him in the pit lane. I have no idea what happened there, but well, I was gonna say it's a poor pit stop there for RB, but it could be worse, you know. I won't mention it too much, but Mahmoudev's onto the medium as well. Just like Shark and Barney, everyone else is on sort of hard tires. So Tesla at the front, he's still got 30 seconds lead towards Lens, and Lens is not going to close that gap. So he's going to have to hope for a safety car to still have a chance of winning this race. Why is there a 30-second gap? Well, simply because Tesla has that pace advantage. And yeah, he started at the front. He started on the intermediates, while most of them started on the full wets. And those who started on full wets did make a pit stop towards the intermediates. There were a few drivers out there who started on intermediates as well, which are then Zwardy, Alpha Ball, and Mahmoudev, but they were a little bit further back, and then so Test Will just could build that gap lap after lap after lap after lap, and he was so much quicker than everyone else. And that's why he's now got a 30-second lead, but well, I can tell you he will not be in Tier 3 next week. By the way, he's driving right now. I'm sure he will be promoted after this race, but he can taste victory tonight, though, with just 12 laps to go in a league of his own. The battle continues on, though, between Lennons and Wardy. I'm not sure what happened to Al5 Wall. He was close behind those two before the pit stops. Now he's 6 seconds behind. So a lot of time lost for the Alpine. Donetch, not surprising to see him setting the fastest lap on those mediums. And Mahmoudev is going to try and get past Ivy up the inside of turn 7 into the braking zone, but he backs out of it. I thought he was alongside there, but not quite so, as Jesus and Donetch are going wheel to wheel. The Haas on the inside, the Williams on the outside, and the Haas comes out on top. Donetch up to P9. As that Hushdevi seems to be having some connection issues there, as Testuel 1:34.9, fastest lap of the race again. Arbon now up to P16. Trying to make something of this race, but I think his limit will be P13. Because it simply just is a 10-second gap towards Godzilla, so I don't think Arbon will be scoring any points tonight, unfortunately. Alpha Hype Wall has got the pace, and he's closing that gap, and the lap times will be getting quicker and quicker as the track starts to warm up. Is Wardy close enough behind to go for the move? I don't think he is. As the track limit penalties will start to come in now, we get up to speed. Mahmoudev this time around is going to get the job done, and he's now up at the P5. So that is another position gained for Arbon, as Zara has lost his front wing there. Not sure how that happened, but he will be struggling for grip. Barely makes the corner there. Have to be careful around the lap, like around Singapore, without your front wing. If you're just a little bit too reckless, you might just end up into the wall and end your race. But Zaro, a moment ago was in P13. So did he make contact with Shark or anyone else around him? Oh, into the wall and almost out of this race. Lucky to not have his front right wheel taken off there. Really have to be careful around there, as he almost spins around as well. Mahmoudev sets the fastest lap of the race on those mediums. good pace in this race. And is looking for a top 5 finish. Let's hope Zaro is going to be able to make it to the pit lane without crashing. Yeah, running all over the track right now. And Ivy is getting back ahead of Mahmudev as the Ferrari driver does finally pull into the pit lane. Now at the end of lap 21. Ooh. And has retired somewhat in pit lane, I guess. So become our second retirement of this race. As Sly DJ is the next one to get lapped by Test Will out there in P1. While Lennons and Wardy still fighting it out there for second place, but Wardy's unable to get through. So far, we've got 10 laps to go. Can he find a way past the McLaren driver? And Zelix hunting down Ozan for P7. And Jesus and Dondaj still close to each other for P9 and P10. And Godzilla now in P12, the last driver in points scoring position. And it's Shark, Barney and Arnold in P13, 14 and 15. But it's the other Sauber at the front of Wardy. Has finally got past Lennons down to the braking zone of turn 7. He's got the job done with the help of DRS. And now is back into second place. But I do wonder if this battle is over with still 9 laps to go. There will be plenty more opportunities for Lennons to try and get back ahead. Just have to stay within the DRS range though. Zenix close to the back of the Red Bull, but not quite close enough to go for the move. He's also got a 6-second time penalty, I think. Yes, he does. Which will cost him, because at the moment he's only 5.7 seconds ahead of Dondage, and Jesus there as well, so might be only P10 right now for the Mercedes, unless he can get past Ozan quickly as Jesus and Dondage are fighting it out as well, which is going to help the Mercedes. Jesus with a bit of a moment on the exit of turn 17, but he sends it up the inside and he's back up into P9 as Ozan has to concede as Zelix goes up the inside to take that 7th place, and will now be looking to drive away into the distance and build a 6-second gap to the cars behind. Lennon still within DRS range, just about 9/10 of a second, but this is a double DRS straight, so should be closing that gap back down to around 6-7 of a second come the end of this one, and he does, down to almost 4/10 of a second. So we're on to lap 24 of 31, 8 laps to go. I don't think anyone will be able to beat this man at the front. But the battle is there for second place. Alpha High Wall looks pretty solid in P4. And Ivy, if he can build a gap of over 3 seconds towards Mahmudev, might be able to get P5, and Mahmudev stars of course will only get worse over these next few laps, these final 8 laps. The mediums will struggle. Yellow flags are out. And it is Shark who's gone for a spin on the exit of turn 5. One of the medium runners. And now down to P15. So, did he make contact or meet anyone, or did he lose it on his own? But Mercedes' day does get even worse, although Seelig's still there in 7th place. Could get a good result. Mercedes has been struggling so far this season. They're 9th in the Constructors, tied with Aston Martin. And Aston Martin will score some good points if Ivy brings it home P5. And so will Kick Sauber with P8 on 10 points. They will get 25 added to their tally. Another great day for Haas, our championship leaders. And neither is it for Ferrari, who are not scoring any points tonight. As Dondich closing that gap once again towards Jesus, but unable to go for the move just yet. The winner of the opening round is struggling around Singapore. And at the moment unable to pass the two-time world champion of Tier 3 in the fight for P9. Six laps to go. Test Will leads by 35 seconds towards Wardy and Lennons. Still with each other in the fight for the final 2 spots on the podium. Alpha Hype Wall has similar pace to the 2 cars ahead of him, but cannot quite close that gap. And we're probably looking at a P4 finish. Ivy has built a gap of over 2 seconds already towards Mahmudev. And if he gains 1 more second in these final 6 laps, then should be safe for P5. And Ozon at the back of Zelix. Zelix has been unable to build a gap towards the Red Bull driver, and with Jesus and Dondich also closing in, looks like Zelix will be limited to a P10 position, and Barney has spun around at the exit of turn 5 as well, just like Shark did a few laps ago. Same has happened now to the Ferrari driver, down to P14. Which helps Arbon gain another place. He's in P13. Just outside the point. 12 seconds behind Godzilla in P12. Lennon's 0.8 of a second behind Wardy. Tom, I don't think he has got what it takes to beat Wardy on track. So Wardy has got quite a good pace around Singapore. Felix with another 3-second time penalty, which is going to cost him even more, with 9 seconds now. Has to be careful to not finish behind the likes of Twisteri and Godzilla. And Jesus now dropped Dondich, who's on those mediums. Those mediums are starting to fall off underneath the Haas. Gap's now 2 seconds, while Jesus is 1.8 behind Ozon. And if Jesus can get past Ozan, then he might be on for a P7 finish. And with his teammate in P6, potentially P5, because Ivy, I think he's made a mistake, because the gap is down to 0.6 of a second. So if Williams finish 6 and 7, they will get some good points. The team 4th in the championship. The battle continues on, and Lennon's, he's been dropped by Wardy. It's 1.2 seconds now. So it seems like Wardy's P2 is safe. Alpha Eyeball is slowly closing that gap, but not quickly enough to make the difference in these final 4 laps. Mahmudev is doing a great job on these mediums. Despite their age, is still finding the grip out there to stay close to Ivy. Jesus now 1.3 seconds behind Ozan. Don't let Stars have fallen off the cliff, I think, because he's lost another second towards the Williams driver. So it's now gonna become a 3-way fight for P7. Although realistically it's only between Ozan and Jesus due to Zedek's penalties. One second is the difference now. As we will go on to the penultimate lap of the race, or lap 29 of 31, so 3 laps to go in this race. Lennon, he's gotten back within the arrest range, or has he? Not sure where the detection point is. I think he just about got the arrest. No, he hasn't. Barely missed out there by a few thousandths. But he's not giving up. And Ozan is now closer than ever towards Zedek, and is he going to try and have a go on the Mercedes, lining up a move into turn 5, having a look up the inside, but not going to go for it. And Jesus tries to go around the outside, and now potentially up the inside of turn 8, not quite. Bit too tight there going into turn 8 and turn 9. And a test wheel is putting into the pit lane, going onto the penalty lap. He just wants that fast lap point as well, which shows his dominance in this race. Able to make a free pit stop from the lead to go for the fastest lap, just to rub it in for everyone else. Only has 1 lap though to do that, and he cannot take any big risks. Otherwise he might lose out on victory if he crashes out on the final lap. That will be quite something. And Mahmudev with a 3-second time penalty. And that is good news for Ivy, who will now stay in P5 if it finishes like this. Yellow flags are out once again for Shark, who's had a moment on the bridge there, and he's lost a bit of front wing as well. Not the race he would have hoped for in the Mercedes. He's down to P16, another moment. And Teswell has saved up the battery for one final push lap. Who would want that fast lap? It's Mahmudev with a 132.9, only a tenth quicker than Teswell, to be honest, on those hards. So I'm sure he will absolutely smash that lap time, probably going to the 131s or 130s. I don't know if that's going to be possible in these race conditions. Shark has retired in the pit lane, becomes our 3rd retirement of this race, unfortunately. But Testwell is going to go on to the final lap of this race, and let's see if he's going to be able to get that fastest lap as well to get 1 more point. for Kick Sauber. No DRS, of course. But through sector 1, he's already up by 0.6 of a second. He only needs 1/10 of a second. But of course, he's going to push on this final lap. But cannot push too hard and risk hitting a wall like George Russell did at this part of the track in 2023 while chasing down Carlos Sainz. Oh, no margin at all there. At the braking zone of turn 13. Only a few corners to go in this race. He's up by 1.5 seconds. Going into the final sector. Dominance will be written with a capital D if he gets this fast lap. Testwell is gonna run around the final corner and he's gonna absolutely dominate in this race. Testwell wins the Singapore Grand Prix and round 3. Absolute domination from the Kick Sauber. Flawless from start to finish. Barty is gonna hold on for second place. Though Lennon's got quite close to the end, but runs just a lap short and finishes in P3. Alpha Highball in P4, Ivy in P5. On his return, Mahmoudov finishes in 6th position. Zenix will finish P7 on track as Jesus has a look up the inside of Ozan. Oh, Ozan on the final corner gets a 3-second time penalty, which drops him behind Jesus, who finishes 7th. Ozan 8th, Dondech in 9th, Zenix in 10th, just ahead of Toursteri by under 0.2 of a second. And Godzilla will score the final point of this race. But wow, might not have been the most entertaining race, but it sure was a good one, given the conditions. But no man was able to beat Testwell 23 in the Kick Sauber. Simply unstoppable. As we see the podium for round 3 of the season, Testwell wins in the Kick Sauber. But I'm sure this will be his last appearance in Tier 3. But a strong drive regardless. Just a little bit too strong for Tier 3. That's the end then of this race. Drive today has been given to Mahmoudov from 19th to P6. And these are your final results then. Testwell, Wardy and Lennons, that's your podium for round 3 of the season. Next week, we will return as per usual. It is time then for the United States Grand Prix at Texas Circuit of the Americas. Always a great race as well. Great track for racing and overtaking. So I will be looking forward to that one as well. And that will be the last race before I take a little break, because I will be missing round 5 of the Chinese Grand Prix, because I will be going to the Hungarian Grand Prix in real life, so I'm going to have to miss that one. But after Texas I will be back, of course, for round 6 at Austria. The doubleheader, in fact. Round 6 and 7, 2 consecutive weeks at Austria, one at the normal layout and the other one at the reverse track. But Next week we're back at Texas. But that's it for me for now, though. Thank you all for tuning into the stream. Tomorrow the highlights will be out, probably in the afternoon. But I'll see you guys next week. Thank you all for watching, and see you next time. Goodbye.